Hello, everyone, and welcome to GRIDtalk today. Thank you for joining us Friday lunchtime. Delighted to be here with Lace Partners, and Rebecca's here, or Bex. Today, this session is about how we've helped translate service propositions. So, what a consulting firm offers to clients, and how you translate the approach in how you translate that into playbooks that consultants can use. Okay. First of all, I think there's obviously we use GRIDtalk for sharing knowledge with our clients, and obviously there's I can see a few familiar faces have joined for this month. And it's really just for us to give back, and make sure we share the sort of experiences, lessons learned in terms of the sort of adopting the method grid approach for connected assurance. Okay. Just a signpost. We're actually really interested in this one for next month. We've been doing sort of an industry research project with Praxis, sort of our way of giving a bit more back to the professional program project delivery profession is, how can we help industry adopt best practice? How can we make that easier? So working with Adrian Dooley at Praxis with the concept of us building a Praxis grid that clients can use. So that's for a little change of schedule. That's for Thursday at the back end of April, just after Easter. So if you're interested in Praxis or looking at best practice adoption, that's going to be really interesting. So I'll come and give you a reminder at the end of the session. First of all, for those that don't know me, I'm Pip Morpeth. I'm Head of Professional Services for Method Grid, and I'm delighted to be joined by Rebecca. So Bex, do you want to give a quick intro?
Hi everyone, nice to meet you all. I am a senior manager at Lace Partners. I'm very happy to be here today. So I sort of specialise in HR and payroll tech and implementations and the whole kind of transformation journey that goes alongside that. I'm also responsible for our project and programme management service at Lace. So that's hence why I'm kind of here today and why I've been working on this. And I'm quite heavily involved in our people and workforce analytics practice as well. So quite a full range across the programme of what we offer. And I'll talk a bit more about Lace in a minute in terms of what we do. But one of my responsibilities has been to get Method Grid up and running and get that working for Lace, which has been really, really good. And I'm really pleased to be here to talk to you about some of the lessons that we've learned and some of the challenges we've faced, but also how it's really bringing value to our organisation, and how great it's been working with Pip and Alice and the team, which has been a total pleasure.
That wasn't paid either, that. So thanks for that, Bex. Thank you. Okay, guys. For today, sort of similar from last month, I'll do a very quick overview of the term connected assurance, just to explain the sort of philosophy of Method Grid and how we use that. And then Bex, if you wouldn't mind just giving us just set the scene for Lace, what it is, and then we're just going to get into it. We'll take you through our approach in terms of how we translate propositions into playbooks. And then obviously we'll go through some of the lessons learned, challenges with that experience. Some I think will resonate with you guys that you've had before, but there's some interesting things that we've been doing to try and take some of those pain points away, which we'll come on to. And then, guys, as we go through, remember, just fire questions in through the live stream, and we'll answer them at the end. Okay. Right. I've got two slides which will just talk about connected assurance, and really for this one, I'm just going to focus on this one really, because ideally we're going to try and bring this to life for you with a demonstration that we sort of prepared. The main problem that we focus all our efforts on is just helping clients reduce the cost of poor quality that comes from inconsistent service project delivery. Reducing cost of poor quality is probably one of the hardest challenges we face as leaders, because it's an ongoing pursuit, and it requires a number of things that have to be really refined really well in the firm to make it successful. the most common pain points we look for and try and remove are, that number one is about, the service consistency, feedback from clients. I get 2 good projects, then I get, it's really inconsistent. 2 is, you recognize as a leader that the teams aren't effective as possible. You've got seniors trying to run around, find templates, working out how we do things. You've got juniors that are struggling to actually build their competencies and skills, and there's a lot of under delegation going on. So there is that recognition that we could make people's lives a lot easier and deliver a lot more successfully. 3 is, again, poor consistency in project delivery performance, like time, cost, and quality. 4 is, we've got great slides, but we really want to give and demonstrate our expertise to clients, and how can we transfer that capability to clients. 5, poor oversight of the portfolio and its compliance, or how our project's been compliant with it. 6 is quite a common one we see is, people just reinventing the wheel. Bex, we know that's a common one as well. Just people building assets, mainly frustratingly, just because they didn't know it existed, or you're just, constantly reinventing or constantly, repeating the same mistakes on projects. And then 7 is, the onboarding experience for people. How long does it really take for them to, before they feel that they're fully integrated into the firm? They know who to speak to, how to network, or who to network with to get things done. And 8 is, the problem with probably PS firms, or seeking investment, is, how could I demonstrate to my investors, that we're more than just smart people. We've got, really tangible IP that is, that's how we deliver value to clients, and it's repeatable and resilient. The 4 core building blocks that we think contribute to high cost of poor quality is clarity on method. How easy, or how do people understand, or what we put in place to allow people to actually deliver services consistently. And that can be, we haven't got one, we've got something, or we've got some, full-blown SharePoint. But the next bit really is compliance. And I think everyone struggles with this, is, I've got method, but I just feel like it sits on the shelf. It's kind of, I want to ensure my teams can take it, use it, tailor it, right size it for the client. And then I want to be able to track that, we're doing those things, like we said. People capability is sort of 3 key points. Have we got the right grades, competencies, career paths in place? How well have we integrated learning into our playbook or into our method? Is it, if you're using it and you're using the method, have you got access to learning and education that helps you apply it? And probably the last point is, do we see evidence that, we are learning by doing, we're driving improvements in how we work, or, we've seen an opportunity, we want to respond to it, we need to build a playbook to work out how we would deliver that to the client, the kind of innovative sort of new opportunity build type of concept. And then the final point is residual risk. How well is audit and assurance fully integrated? Either, how are the requirements quite clear in the method, but also how well are they actually integrated into the team in delivery? And that's the 4 key points. Very quickly, we've kind of highlighted what we're going to look at today. Method Grid is the platform, really just, it allows teams and organizations to build knowledge-rich playbooks. But the key bit is, once you've built that playbook, you can then clone it and tailor it for each project or each client engagement. And actually, from an ownership perspective, an individual, it's giving those knowledge workers the actual feel that they take ownership of it, they can control it, they can right size it for that particular client. And then, through that process, you learn, and the teams can learn, you can drive improvements back into your original playbook, and then get the continuous improvement driven through, with then obviously audit and assurance being integrated into that playbook that's on the live project. but that'll do. I think that's trying to do that as quickly as I possibly can. But key concept really now is bringing it to life. So following now, Bex, when we just give them a bit of intro into sort of LACE, and then we'll get into sort of the approach for how we've translated what we offer into playbooks. Okay.
Great. Thanks, Pip. So just a bit of background around LACE Partners. So we're a boutique HR and payroll consultancy firm. We're UK based, but our clients are global. So we work with companies across the world, or ones that are certainly UK based and have branches across the world. We advise clients on the full life cycle. If it's HR or payroll, then we're interested. So anything from sort of vision and strategy through to model work, employee experience, sort of HRIS selection and implementation. So we sort of do a lot of project management around putting tech systems in. And then coming out, I guess, the other end of it, the analytics that come out the back of that, and then also everything payroll as well. So quite a broad remit, but anything that is HR or payroll, not outside of that remit. But I think what's really important to us is, we are technology agnostic. So we work really hard with our clients to understand their requirements. For us, it's not about saying, which system is best for them until we fully understand what their issues are and what the solution needs to be. And our core values as an organisation are around passion, care and innovation. And we always try and really live those values, both as in the way that we work with each other as a team and as a consultancy, but also in the way that we work with our clients. So it's very much about collaborating with them and making sure that we understand, as I said, their issues and their problems, so we can help them find the right solution. So that's kind of what we do. Company's been going for about 8 years now, so it's kind of grown quite quickly, and we've got our exec and leadership team have got both that kind of big four consultancy heritage in there, but we also have a lot of our consultants that come from businesses as well. So we have that good mix of kind of real strong consultancy skills, but also business acumen and expertise. So our clients get the flexibility.
Bex, how number of consultants? How big are you now?
So we've got about pushing on towards 70 consultants at the moment. And then we have a range of associates as well that we bring in for subject matter expertise, really. So where we've got specific skill sets that we need, we have a really good pool of associates that we can call on at any time. So really growing quite quickly as well.
Okay. So wrong.
Go on.
There we go. Yeah, next slide. Hang on.
Come on, assistant.
Slow.
Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about Method Grid and what we wanted to achieve with it, and what our sort of objectives were with Method Grid. So essentially what we wanted to do, as a consultancy firm, we have a number of propositions or offerings that we take to our clients. And again, they're kind of around those core subject areas that I've talked about, things like people strategy and payroll and things like that. But within them, we have a number of offerings and templates and methodologies and all this kind of stuff. We were at a point as an organisation where it was scattered across our SharePoint files, and back to Pip's point earlier, people were reinventing the wheel and recreating materials that we've already got, that already existed as part of our collateral. So what we wanted to do was align it all and bring it all together and find a way to bring that consistency across all of our offerings, and have somewhere that our consultants could go to and find exactly what they need. And it needed to be something that would be robust enough to hold all of our kind of collateral and our offerings and our propositions in a logical, structured, clear way, but something that would allow us to come back to that point of collaborating with our clients and adjusting to meet their individual needs. So all of our clients are so different. They're across different industries, different sectors, different sizes, do different things. And for all of them, they have their own way of working, their own tools and methodologies. So we need something that is, we can resize to meet the needs of the client, but also kind of adapt and adjust as we go through. So that was a really core objective for us, that having that structure, but also that flexibility to bring it in. And then the other thing is, again, just to that point of consistency. So that's really important for us. And I'll talk a bit more about how we helped build that consistency into method grid as we go through the next stages. But again, that kind of having a consistent, robust approach across all of our offerings and propositions, so that our consultants know and what the structure of them is and how they sort of all fit together. And again, as well, having that sort of overarching view of how it all fits together. So this is everything we do as a consultancy, and looking at where it all fits together, how it hangs together, what every of the other service rooms, the other propositions are doing, but having one place where people can go to get that. That was really important to us. And we wanted to get everyone involved.
Sorry, Beth.
Go on, Pip.
Yeah, no, I suppose the challenge is I think everyone who works in consulting firms, that challenge of trying to join up practices across the, how we deliver services as an end-to-end service is always
it's really difficult. It is really difficult. We had many conversations about it, and I think it will, when we get to the next couple of slides, you'll see how we sort of pinned it all together. But yeah, it was definitely challenging and took quite a lot of lateral thinking, I think. But one of the things we did want to do with it as well was bring everyone into it together, so everyone felt like they were contributing it. So your point, Pip, was making sure that all the different service rooms and the different propositions had a voice in how it kind of came together, to give that ownership to people, so they didn't feel like it was kind of being built and then forced on them, which again brings its own challenges, which we'll talk about in the challenges section. When you start involving the many, it becomes more complicated. And finally, I think the final objective really was around that sort of being able to demonstrate that we have this resilient, comprehensive approach to our clients, to our shareholders, to our investors, so that they can see that we've got this sort of structure and this rigor around how we deliver our projects and programs.
Cool. Okay. So next bit then, Bex, we get onto is sort of the approach. Oops.
I can talk more about LACE if you want.
No. There we go.
Oh, there we go. Right. Yes. Okay. So talking a bit now about how we kind of pulled it all together and made it all fit into this life cycle. So this is our sort of transformation journey. This is how we approach our transformation projects. And I think it's probably a fairly standard life cycle type approach. So you've got your 4 key stages. You prepare, co-create, deliver, and sustain. So thinking about what you need to do, planning what you need to do, doing what you need to do, and then kind of measuring your success afterwards. So they're the 4 transformation steps for us in our journey. And then within those, there are sub phases and sub work streams and etc. And what we wanted to try and do was to get all of our propositions to fit into that life cycle in some way, shape or form. So when you look at it on the method grid, you've got the life cycle running across the top, and then the propositions naturally sort of fall into different parts of the life cycle. And some of them might cross all of the stages or all of the life cycle, and some, like project and program management, for example, runs across the piece. Whereas some of them, such as RFP in a box, which I'll show to you in a minute, it just sits in that first stage. So they didn't need to go across all of the stages for all of them, but it was just where they'd naturally fit in that transformation life cycle. But again, just bringing them all into that standard approach. So we had a standard life cycle for all of our service propositions was really important to us to build that consistency.
I think, Bex, I think every organisation we kind of work through is a key challenge, just to try and get people aligned to a common life cycle. But it's just so critical. It just helps the consultants get used to the life cycle, but also just doesn't confuse the client, especially if you're trying to offer like multiple services in that with the propositions as well.
And do you know what it really helps with is that kind of seeing the overarching picture that we were saying earlier. If you can see it all in one place, it kind of really helps you to understand. For a new consultant coming in, for example, that may not fully understand all the propositions, if they can sort of see it all hanging together in one place, they can see where in that life cycle it fits, and it starts to make a bit more sense in that whole kind of journey that we take our clients through.
I think we were quite lucky as well, because when we started, I think Sian, I don't know if she's on the call, but Sian had done quite a lot of the horsepower and thinking, and we just quickly translated it. So that's kind of sort of started quite quickly in terms of being able to build playbooks. So I think the key summary is what is key is trying to get a standard life cycle that we can use as the frame to then start building playbooks. Anything else, Bex, on that one?
No. Let's move on to this
one.
The themes. Okay, so Yeah, so the life cycle gave us our kind of, our top level axis across the top. So it showed us, where things fit across the top. But what we needed to demonstrate, I guess, was the sort of depth of our service offerings and our propositions. So how do we make sure that all of them deliver what they need to deliver effectively? And so we started thinking about sort of themes and best practice themes to make sure that when we started to plot out those propositions onto the grid, they were covering all aspects that they needed to do. So that's what we were trying to achieve with this. And I'm not going to read through all the wording on this, but it kind of gives you a broad idea. And these are terms that you'll recognise from your day-to-day jobs. These are things that are really important in everything that you do, just to make sure that you've covered and crossed the I's and dotted the T's. So these are the themes that we ran down the side of our grid, which again, once I get into it, you'll be able to see and it'll become a bit clearer. And so all of our propositions fit into the grid and they fit into across the life cycle, and then the different deliverables fit into the different themes. And again, it's around that, driving that consistency. So, for all of our consultants, when they go into Method Grid, they understand how it's structured, what it looks like, where they can find things, and where they can expect to find things. And it just avoids that duplication of effort and people trying to reinvent the wheel, because they can find what they need really easily. It just helps avoid rework, really. So that's what we're trying to achieve with the themes.
Yeah, I find we put this in our sort of standard approach to try and standardize themes even before we start the concept of gridding, building playbooks. Just want to avoid confusion, in terms of actually just by having this framework very clearly, people don't duplicate stuff. I don't know where I might put change control, or I don't know, does it live in risk and issue, or does it live in scope management? It's kind of, we want to just, before we start, it's just getting everyone clear on, okay, well, this is the scope of each theme, because it just helps the teams be much more productive. And you're right, Bex. You open every grid, you kind of get used to what C is or what D is, and it's a very easy, simple concept to explain to clients in terms of demonstrating depth and breadth of your methodology.
Yeah.
Okay. The next one.
Okay, so yeah, this is really important as well, actually. So this is around, again, plays to that consistency theme. So when you go into a LACE grid, you know what you're getting, basically. So it's obviously branded to our beautiful colours. And we have 4 core elements to all of our grids. So you have the orange elements, which are guidance notes. So somewhere you'd go if you need more information about that particular phase or theme. We have actions and deliverables. So those are the blue and the teal coloured ones. So again, your kind of action will tell you the thing that you need to do, and all of those are linked to a deliverable. So within that element, you can kind of link to the deliverable that's associated with it. And the grey ones are decision points or gateways. So again, obviously those clear points within the process where you need to stop, check, and get something signed off, for example. So they're all structured in that same colour scheme. Those tiles are common across all of our grids, and it just keeps it simple and easy for the consultants to understand.
Yeah. I think that's probably the most common pattern we've seen, Bex, in terms of how you translate method into playbooks. Sometimes, we've got some people have just built toolkits, and it's just it's just pure templates, and that's all they want to do. And then but the method ones are kind of, well, actually, this is what we want you to do, the activities, and then these are the multiple deliverables that you want, and there's unique codes for each deliverable. It's kind of getting used to people like the geocoding, like A21 is the PID, and that's kind of always going to be the code. It's just getting into that consistent look and feel. Cool. Right.
Oh, you're going to test my technology skills, right? And
a little bit. I mean, I'll talk a little bit about what we built here, because this is probably quite unique, actually, Bex. I think you were first one we built one for, which is we built a grid within Method Grid within the platform, just to basically hold propositions and playbooks, so that we could build and describe what the purpose of each playbook would be, who was the owner, what potential case studies would be linked to it, and a description. And as a way of sort of, if a client, if you wanted to showcase the platform to a client, say, this is how we deliver our services, what you're interested in, you can quickly navigate and be able to demonstrate that expertise. But yeah, go on then, Bex, over to you if you want to bring that to life.
So again, just a bit of context before I jump into it. So obviously we built the Laceway Grid and this kind of concept of having everything in one place, but before we went there, we needed to test that, and we wanted to test the hypothesis that we could scale it up. So we started with our RFP in a box proposition, the offering that we do for that, which is, a set of activities that we take clients through when they're coming out to build their RFPs. Loads of work that's associated with it, but it's a really good one for us to kind of put into that sort of life cycle to give it a test. So that's one that I'm going to show you now, if the technology is kind, bear with. Right, okay, that was easier than I thought.
Yeah.
Seamless transition. Okay, so first of all, as you go into the methodology, you get a kind of guidance about what the playbook is and what you're going to find in it. And again, so for your little purpose and outcome here, who's created it and who owns that sort of that playbook, and then some case studies, so some really useful information in there about where you can find out information where we've done it before, and that's really useful for when we're writing proposals for ourselves, so you can go in and find particular case studies that relate to that piece of work. And then if you click on here, it will take you into the actual grid. So seamless transition into the LACE RFP in a box grid. So this is what it looks like. You can see that sort of common theme running across all of it. And then if I just sort of click into some of the elements, so you can see the timeline that runs across the top. And as I said earlier, this offering only covers that first stage of our transformation journey. So you're only seeing the prepare stages. For some of our others, that goes on and kind of covers the rest of the life cycle. But down here, you can see the themes that we talked about earlier. So these are all the elements that you might want as you sort of build out an RFP for our clients. For example, you might produce a PID for the RFP, so outlining exactly what you've got to deliver. And then each of the elements will go into a little bit more detail. We've got a lot of sort of video explainers that we're building into MethodGrid just to kind of bring it to life for people a bit more so they can see things. We try and make it quite visual, just so it's not loads and loads of words on a page, which consultants find a little bit dry. And again, just some guidance, some expert tips, some information that is really useful for people as they go through to complete this activity. And then, as I said, all activities are linked to a deliverable, all deliverables are linked to an activity. So if you then need to go and complete the deliverable, you come through to that tab, which is very similar, and that will kind of take you through how to complete the actual deliverable and gives you the examples and the templates that you need to go ahead and complete that. So it gives you a bit of an overview of kind of that part of the cycle where you go through and you select your activities and deliverables. And then, one of the things that is really important to us, as I said to you before, is about right sizing and being able to adjust the grid to meet our clients' needs. So what we've worked really hard on is labeling things so that we can kind of use filters to say, for example, if a client wants a fully guided RFP process, then that involves all of the elements in the grid, and they go down that approach. So by using these labels on the tab here, you can see that we've kind of got essentials, assisted, and fully guided. So if someone just wants a small RFP process, it's quite a short one for us, then we click into the essentials tab, and the grid would automatically filter out anything that wasn't labeled as essentials. So that's really handy for us to kind of go, okay, we just want these ones, we want the medium-sized one, and we can tailor it really quickly to our clients by using that approach. And then once you get into the more sort of complex side of tailoring the grid, what we typically do for when we work with our clients is clone the grid. So we create a unique client version of that part of the grid. So if I just do that now, hopefully, this is the tech lets you down, right?
What we found was really allowed us to scale playbooks a lot quicker was, a lot of the standard stuff you need to deliver a service to a client is so repeatable, like how you manage risk, how you initiate, how you plan. It's kind of actually, once we built those elements, it became really quick in terms of, okay, well, what's unique to this proposition, and just being able to focus on those, either the solution lanes or, for this case, the procurement one was quite key.
Yeah. So this now is the clone version of it. So you can see that up here you've kind of got that, and we can go in and we can edit the title of it. I'll just call it test for now. But you build this for your particular client, and then if this was sort of filtered by any of those labels, you might have less elements in here if it was just a simple process. But here you can see it's got all of the elements in here. And then how you tailor it in more depth for your client is you kind of go into the individual activities or deliverables as you go through, and you can assign them to people within the team. So, for example, I'm going to make you do this one, Pip. You're going to
thanks very much. Yep.
You're going to own the request for proposal deliverable, and then you can even kind of
be on the activities. Yeah, you're in the deliverable. So you give me the deliverable. The activities are in the other object. But,
okay, thank you.
Let
me close that.
I'm just giving myself more work, I think.
Okay, so I am about to give you more work now, Pip. So you can come in here and then you can assign individual activities to people within the team. So I might share the love and give some to Alice. And obviously you can give things for egg statuses as you go through. And as you complete the activities within that particular activity, you can mark them complete.
Come out of edit mode. There you go. Yeah, don't worry. It happens to me in every demo virtually. Yeah.
And you can see that you can start to see the completion on the box. Once you've done all of them, then the whole activity marks itself as complete. The other thing that you can do to tailor it for your particular client, apologies if you can hear background noise, I have got men in the house fixing my boiler, is you can create individual elements for that client. So if they have a particular way of doing things or a particular deliverable that they insist on having or anything like that, you can create a specific element for that client just by adding an element into that part of the grid. Give it a name. I'm going to be really original and call it test. And then you can create the element as you see fit or how is relevant to you. So we do try and make all the elements as standardized as possible. Again, it goes back to that point around consistency and people knowing what they're going to find when they go into the elements and what kind of guidance notes they're going to see. But yeah, you can kind of tailor it to what you need to do. So you can just create your own elements. You go through there, and then you can, again, as to all the sort of elements that I've already shown you, you can create things like checklists and just add tasks.
I think it's the key concept, Bex, isn't it? It's probably just making sure teams can actually take ownership of I think the most frustrating probably thing for the psychology of method is it's kind of, I can't tailor it, I can't right size it, therefore I can't use it with this client, or client, they've got their method and they're really religious about it, and we've got to show how we can actually integrate the two together and work that out. And it's kind of, I think that's where probably static solutions kind of probably make it virtually impossible in some ways of allowing that type of dialogue, be able to facilitate that dialogue. I think that's the key bit. And that, if people feel that they can actually tailor it, right size it, move it around, it's transferring the ownership to them to take it on and then deliver it. So key, I think.
Yeah, and there's other really important things in these things that you can edit, and it's around the responsibility matrix, for example. So whereas within our templates it will say responsible as a program or project manager, once you get into a project, who that person is, you can actually put their name in there, so it kind of makes it a bit more accountable for them as well. So we found it really useful to have that sort of level of editability around the different elements and be able to sort of tailor it to meet our clients' requirements. So yeah, that's a basic demo of how we're using it. For us, it's obviously still a work in progress. We're not huge way down our journey with it yet, but that's how we're intending to get the use out of the system, and that's what we've started to do, which seems to be working really well.
Good.
Is that a good enough demo, Pip?
Yeah, no, this is great. It's great. Yeah.
Good. We can switch back to the slides.
Yeah, go on. Right, there we go. Bex, thanks for that. I think this is the bit, probably, Bex, kind of where we want to get into. So kind of, what have we learned? What are the sort of key challenges we faced in doing it? Because probably, Bex, I didn't even set the scene for this. Well, we've been with you sort of 3 months. We're still going and just
feels like longer though.
Oh, thanks. But yeah, so it's kind of we've been in the background helping build your playbooks. Yeah, I don't know if you want to pick up capacity. That's probably
I was going to say, well, let me talk these through, and I think if anyone wants to kind of ask any questions of this as we go through, then please do just pop them in the questions or in the chat, and we'll kind of answer them as we go through. I think none of this is without its challenges, of course, and capacity was a big one for us because we're always busy and always client facing, so clients always come first. They're always the priority for our consultants and all of our resources. So to that point around where it says work in the margins, it became work building out the method grid framework and the tools and all the elements. As important it was to our business, it became something that people did on the side of their desk because, every now and then you'd have a new proposal come in that someone needs to write. So it became an activity that was always kind of downgraded, and it was never quite priority because it was, wasn't top of the list. So we did struggle with that. We struggled with capacity, and we didn't have this sort of clear ownership and focus. So that idea of bringing everyone into it and getting people involved in it is a great idea, and it's a great concept. And we did want that, we did want to achieve that, but actually without that sort of single owner driving it and pushing it forward, and without it being their priority, it always slipped down the list. And so once it became kind of my job and I had to push it through, obviously at that point, everything went swimmingly after that. But no, genuinely, it needs clear ownership and focus. You need someone that is kind of looking at it, because it comes to this, and I'm sort of jumping around the list a bit, sorry, Pip, but it comes to that sort of speed to value point on this list as well. So if we've got it, we want to build it, but if you're not at that sort of time lag and that delay from getting the thing up and running to actually kind of really getting everything in it is you need to be really mindful of that. If people lose enthusiasm, it kind of loses its impact if you're taking a really long time to get it through those early stages. So capacity is a big one. Very much recommend kind of getting people on it and or getting the lovely method grid team to take on more of the responsibility for getting it up and running. So we did do a bit of that as well.
I think you call out probably the most key point for us, because we don't treat method grid as the sort of tool implementation, train you, see you later. It's a capability uplift project. It's kind of got to be client led, and in some cases, if you're not ready for that, it's probably a real investment that's just going to dwindle, and you'll not actually achieve the outcome. We're always trying to advise clients that if you're serious about wanting to get into high tier sort of content method approach, it's going to need sort of you to take the lead and investment, and we'll support you, but you've got to treat it like a project. Otherwise, you're just going to probably 6 months just be very disappointed in the investment.
No, I definitely agree with that. The next point is around consistency. So I've talked about consistency a lot as we've been through this presentation, and so there's this sort of need to make it consistent in terms of the look and the feel, and that doesn't just relate to the grid itself, it's also the content that sits within the elements. So by having many people creating content, you lose that sort of consistency. So although you get the breadth of experience, you lose the consistency of tone and narrative, but also things like images, that if people put images in, are they lace branded? Do they look in the same kind of consistent look and feel? So that's a really important thing that you have to keep an eye on. Again, the language and tone is really important. So making sure that some people write in bullet points, some people write in paragraphs. How do you make sure that consistency comes across all of the elements? And and I think Pip's going to come on to talk a bit about the AI element as in a second too. Nice plug for you there, Pip.
Oh, thanks.
But that is going to help us with that consistency and tone side of things. And again, that message around targeting at the right audience. So make that decision early on in the process. Are you targeting your content in your elements at a junior consultant, or are you targeting it at a director level? So when people read it, what's their level of understanding of what they're reading? So that's really important. We got questions, I can see. I'm going to answer Tom's.
Yep.
So Tom asks, did you find that once you took ownership and really started to drive the process of building grids, did you find colleagues were quick to engage with it? I'm going to come on to in fact, I'll talk about adoption now, actually. So adoption is one of the biggest challenges that we face. And I think part of that is around, again, it's the fact that people are really busy and they're working really hard on client stuff. And it's that concern around it being an extra task that they've got to do. How is this kind of actually bringing value to what I've got to do? I've got to do all this stuff anyway. So why do I need another thing to kind of tick boxes on and all the rest of it? So we had some real concerns about that from our sort of some of our senior managers. But the core to it all, obviously, is being able to demonstrate the value that it brings. And if you can do that with the right audience, you're onto a winner. So for us, we targeted the right audience in the organisation. For us, that's sort of the senior manager level, which is handling my peer group. So, and just sort of saying, okay, you're the people that are on the ground delivering on projects and programs. Here's how it's going to help you kind of really bring that to life with your clients, but also how it's going to make it easier for you to find the information that you need. And kind of really give everyone a place where they can go to find everything that they need in one place and help guide them through those processes. So I think if you can get those people on board, if you can get the right people on board, those kind of adopters, those innovators, those people that typically in your organisation are the people who will adapt to change quite well, get them on board, get them using it and get them demonstrating the success of it. And then it kind of helps it to filter through the organisation. I think the enthusiasm point of it goes back to that sort of time lag thing as well. We've got a shiny new product. You need to make it, drive it out, get it done, get it up and running as quickly as is reasonable, so you can maintain that level of enthusiasm.
Yeah, I think that's key, Bex. I think we sort of, our philosophy is, you need both to create momentum, like find the right, everyone knows the people in the firm that are, just really good at accepting change, really innovative, creative thinkers, they take change well. Get them motivated and then start with the, rolling it out more broader. As long as you've got that critical mass of people that are, really enjoying it, it's enough to sort of as a bow wave to support the implementation.
Yeah.
Rab is saying, is this owned by part of the business operations, i.e. back office, or is it owned by the client facing part?
It's owned by the client facing. So I am client facing most of the time, except when I'm working on Method Grid. But yeah, no, so we I think that was important to us in the sense that we're the client facing team and the people that obviously understand what needs to go in it in a way better than necessarily our operations team. And I think what we're looking to do as we go forward is to bring in someone that's not me, that will own Method Grid properly going forward, because one of the other challenges under that sort of concept of real life bucket is around the ongoing maintenance administration of it, which is where we probably will bring some of that into the operations in the back office side of it. So we'll have someone that can kind of maintain everything from a consistency point of view. But then as we start to build more offerings and new propositions, someone that can control how those fall into the grid and how they're put in, and also help us build other use cases for it. So we were identifying those all the time. I had a conversation with someone yesterday in the office and they were asking me around how we can build out all of our process catalogue and how we can do that. And I was like, well, actually, that's probably something we could do in Method Grid and that would work really well. And again, you can build it and filter it depending on what kind of. So, once you start geeking out on all the things that it can do, you start thinking about all the other ways you can use it and internal use cases for it as well. So I think, at the moment it's owned by the client-facing delivery service, but that will, I think, kind of cross over as we start to use it for more things.
Bex probably, there's no question, but Bex, I think probably want to call out, I think it's because we did a really good job in proving the hypothesis, didn't we? We kind of theoretically said, yeah, standard life cycle, standard themes, but can we actually translate, a proposition into it? I suppose I think we're still, I'm sure there are going to be test cases we come across that, it's a complex offering and the challenge of trying to keep it within that life cycle or within one grid. I think that's it's proving successful at the moment, but I'm sure we're going to come on some edge cases that we're going to have to go, and we're going to have to think about how we treat that differently.
Yeah. So Mark's question, with targeting the right audience, do you build different versions of the same content targeted at different levels of expertise? No, we don't. And that's because we didn't want to overcomplicate it. We aim for a midpoint. I think that's the best way to put it. So, when we sit there and think about what level we want to put it at, if we sort of aim it at manager level within our organisation in terms of how we think they'd understand it. So someone could pick it up, it's pretty self-explanatory, but we assume a basic level of understanding around what, the terminology is and what the content is. So that's how we've tackled that. It seems to work. I think it's kind of most people that are driving this are at manager or senior manager level. So when they're working on projects and programs, the people that be leading this sort of projects and programs are at that sort of level, so that it works if you just tailor it at that sort of audience.
I think you're right, Bex. I think your leverage is more sort of senior consultant grade and above. So kind of the advice we kind of give is say, look at your firm and the structure of it, and actually work out, who needs the most support. Because if you've got a lot of graduates and junior sort of entry level resources, actually, and that's part of your business, it's kind of, well, actually, we'll build it for that because they'll benefit, and as they go up, it's kind of just working out, the right target audience for the group. Okay.
Yeah, and I think I could talk about this all day, and honestly, if anyone wants to have a further conversation about some of these challenges, I'm more than happy to take it offline. But I think just a couple of other things to pick up on before I let we move on, but it's at that point around priority and scope control is really important as well. So you can't do everything all at once. Don't throw everything at it. Start small. So build we started with the projects and program management elements of it. We started with the RFP in a box stuff. So that stuff that naturally lends itself more easily to our life cycle, we kind of try to get those now first, and then test those and make sure that concept works. As Pip said, just kind of test that out, make sure it works, and then we kind of keep building up and adding things to it. So that's been quite a useful approach for us to take as well.
Cool. Conscious that we've done a few questions, but we've got 10 minutes left, Bex. If we crack on and then okay. So probably me to talk about this one, and Bex, you're benefiting from this. Guys, those challenges that we went through aren't unique. We've seen it across a number of clients. They're getting over the barrier of building content, developing it consistently, and building it quickly. We want to get the tool out there. We want to help consultants. The quicker we can get that content out to them, the better, really. If there's any example of probably the values that we have at MethodGrid, probably never settle and fast craft are lived in this, because we started in the back end of last year trialing AI. I mean, ChatGPT came out and we started testing it, but January, first quarter of this year, we've really sort of honed and refined it, and we successfully have just done an implementation with an FS client where we've basically built their playbook using assisted AI. But what we've learned from our experiments is what we do is control its narrative. So we can control, what sources of information are relevant. So are you PMI? Are you APM? Are you Axelos? What kind of industry sources do you want to use as the heritage of your method? What assets have you got, like your references, like this is our proposition for X, this is our standards, like internal IP documents, including like any, this is our capture of all our lessons learned, etc. But But then so you can, what we're allowing with the model is we want you to be able to control the narrative. You set the data that's important for you or the information. The next bit is, okay, well, how do I want it to respond? And it was, can we, ingest your brand guidelines? Can we set it for a particular target audience? We want you to respond for this level. And then also, you'll have seen on Beck's, the sort of video explainers. We use AI to build and inform sort of video explainers. So very quickly, we can look at an element, build a video explainer for it, put it into, I think we use some Synthesia AI, and we've got a video explainer that we can use. And probably for UK, that's perfect, but we've got some global clients that are kind of like, I need a video explainer. I need it, to be, cultural, match the cultural heritage, change the accent, change the language, change the dialect. So we need to be able to provide that level of flexibility. And then what we do is then with the elements that you want to use, we configure AI to respond consistently. So if you say, look, I want hints and tips, I want quality criteria, I want roles and responsibilities, we're using that to generate it in a consistent format. And that just allows us to build playbooks very quickly. But also, the key point is it's tailored to your brand, your look and feel. It feels like your playbook. But also, it's AI assisted. It's not just press a button, there you go. It does need a QA quality check, but that's significantly, we do an internal one, make sure it's been translated and it's worked properly and use our experience. But from an SME sort of load, it's much more just pushing them into, can you review it? Does it make sense? Potentially, what would you add? What other insights add? And I think what we found with the sort of successful trial we did a couple of weeks ago, 8 out of 10 times, it was scoring higher. It was like I couldn't add anything. It's just really, really impressive. So that's it's part of now how we do implementations now. It's sort of part of how we do PS in terms of helping clients with content build. Might generate a few questions. That one, thanks. I think that draws us to a close. So, but from a content presentation point of view, guys, just open the floor. There's obviously a lot to take in, and Bex, thanks for doing a really good demo. So yeah, just conscious of time, I just wonder if anyone has any questions that you might have for us. Don't worry, Bex. There's a pause here because it's now the we'll just wait.
It'll be like a flurry of activity.
Bex, sort of, I mean, we've taken you through this. We've started building a few elements for you for the AI, but I'm sure that was quite an exciting. I can remember telling you.
What was exciting was seeing your face when you were showing it. Pip was very excited to demonstrate the AI. No, it's great, actually. It is really helpful. And it goes back to that point around that sort of side of the desk, trying to get things done and it being a slow burner. Hopefully the AI is going to really help us speed up that process. I'm on holiday for a couple of weeks. I was kind of hoping to go away and come back and find it's all been sorted, really, Pip. So that's what I'm expecting when I get But yeah, no, I think it does look really impressive. And actually the video element to it as well looks really good. So the fact that you can create those video explainers really nicely and quickly, which is a great way to be able to do it.
Yep. Bex, one from Dom. How close are you, or are you using the playbooks in terms of with client pitches?
Well, interestingly enough, Dom, we have actually used, we did a pitch fairly recently where we demonstrated, or sort of certainly gave some visuals around the RFP in a box when we did sort of oral presentations to demonstrate the rigor that we have in place, and that was really good, and it was actually really well received. So we could sort of say, look, this is, it was an RFP pitch, so we would say, look, this is exactly how we approach it. These are the elements that we tick off as we go through. So it was great to be able to demonstrate that, and we so in a couple of the ones that we've done recently, we have sort of reference method grid, and again, it brings that kind of reassurance and that sort of feeling amongst our clients that we've got those kind of robust tools and methodologies that sit underneath it. So yes, we are more than close. We are already doing it.
Cool. Yeah, guys, any more questions? Please, just fill them in on the tab.
I think if anyone is interested and wants to kind of talk about it a bit more or understand any more of our journey, then as I said previously, I'm more than happy to take anything offline or answer any questions later.
I think that Bex, I mean, I think the thing I most enjoyed with this was just the ability to bring it to life. I remember the sort of meeting with Sian way back when about, she had the life cycle, she had the, the PowerPoint slides, and it's kind of like, how am I gonna translate this, all of this content into a playbook? I think what I suppose we're both proud of, it's kind of when we proved RFP in a box, it was kind of, we proved it, we translated the life cycle, we've got the common themes, and it's kind of actually, it's a working playbook. I think the challenge now is just everyone wants to build more dealing with the demand of building content.
No, you're right. And I remember those early meetings where I'd sit there and go, I don't know what is going on. Like, how on earth is this going to kind of, it's just too complex, I think, was the original kind of thinking. It was like, how on earth are we going to make this work? It's just all too different. And actually, when even as I was writing the sort of helping write these slides for today, I was thinking, actually, it has come together. There is a logical flow to it now. There is that kind of clear visual on it. And so it's exciting.
Oh.
Brilliant.
Cool. Well, I mean, I don't think there's going to be any more questions. So I'll just wrap up. So just as a reminder for next month, which is on a Thursday, same time, but on a Thursday, last Thursday month, that's myself and Adrian Dooley going through Praxis, how we translate the Praxis framework into Method Grid. And that's where, we will enable it as a resource within the platform. So if you want to adopt Praxis, you can quickly, use the store, clone a grid, and, you're already compliant with Praxis, but, you're going to need the ability to right size that for your organization. And that's really interesting for us because I think we all, even if you take sort of Praxis, you take other ones like PM2 or PM Squared or Axelos, being able to actually start with this is what best practice says, and then actually quickly then, okay, well, how do we tailor it, right size it for our organization? Is we think that's just adding value back to the industry in terms of helping clients adopt best practice as quickly as possible. I don't think there's anything else. Oops. And a final reminder for anyone that's interested, I think we're just about full, but I think there are 1 or 2 spots still available if you're interested in coming to the Senior User Forum. That's on the 20th of April in Bath. Sort of great interest. Obviously, we'll be doing a bit more on the R&D side. So the dev team are doing some fantastic work in sort of how else we can use AI in the platform. That's a key bit. Quite excited about that. But Arup are also, the main theme is Arup. They've been with us sort of 9-12 months in building their advisory services platform. So it's lessons learned on that, but also, the challenge of going from, scaling that deployment from 100 up to 1,000 consultants across the globe. That's the approach and sort of lessons that we're going to go through, and the insights in the thinking around that. Cool. Ian's, is there anything you'd find helpful in improving the user experience on the platform, Bex?
Ooh, that's a tricky question. I can't, do you know what? I don't want to rush into an answer on that. And I think the sort of using it and creating it and the building the elements is incredibly intuitive and really, really straightforward and easy to do. The one thing I was moaning to Pip about earlier was the fact that it was taking a little time to upload my documents and my templates. So that was the one thing that I was moaning about. He said they're getting it fixed. So that's the only thing I'd say. But other than that, it's very easy to use, very simple to create things, and very easy for people to go in and do things to it as well. So it's not difficult.
Cool. Conscious of time. Listen, Bex, thank you so much. It's been, thank you for all your time of preparing everything. It's been fantastic. So thank you. And guys, look, if anyone wants to pick up Senior User Forum or just wants a bit more of a demo, a bit more of a deep dive, please, reach out, drop me a note on LinkedIn. All right. Thank you very much for your time. See you next month. Take care.